Okay, so we're doing our last section of our portfolio on finance and coding. And this is something you could discuss. It says name six things you would need to include in your monthly budget as you're being a young adult. So if you wanted to pause, you could talk for a brief second, but I'm pretty sure you would come up with some of the same things on this list. So we've got food and groceries. Of course, you need food to survive. Shelter, that could be, obviously rent or mortgage on a house or apartment. You need a place to live. Heat and hydro often is something you need to also do. Gas, you probably need a car and gas to get around. Household things, just day-to-day things like cleaning supplies and everything like that, just to make sure that your house runs smoothly. And then stuff that's kind of being more like a need now is having a phone and internet, because there's so much that's done online now. So those are all expenses that you would need to budget for as a young adult. Separate that from things that you want. Now, I'm sure if we pause the video and you had lots of time to talk about things you want, we'd have a really big list. But things that you might consider that you probably would purchase are things like a streaming service. You want Netflix or Disney Plus or something like that. That's sort of a need. You don't need a want. You don't need that stuff. Entertainment, going out with your friends, things like that, or saving money for a vacation. These are all things that you might want to budget for so that you can live your life and have some wants as well. So those are just a couple of questions about finance. Here is EQAL question that you may or may not have seen before. So 2 expenses that would be priorities in a household. So this is not the time to have fun and make a joke on EQAL and say, oh yeah, I want to get video games as a priority. No, we want to make sure that you understand that the priorities are things like the cost of housing and the cost of food. Those are the 2 priorities. And then of course you're seeing that they ask you to pick 2, so make sure you pick 2. Example 2, Carl invests $100 into a saving account, which earns interest yearly. Select the 2 changes that would earn Carl more money for the savings account. So obviously, if we decrease the interest rate, that's not going to get us more money. That's going to give us less money. So it's not going to be that one. Carl increases his initial investment. Well, if he had $100 in there, but he increased it to $200, of course, that means he's going to get more money. So I think that's one of them. Let's read on, though. The bank adds a fee for the account active. Well, any sort of fee is going to take money away from us, so that's not going to really help things. And Carl deposits more money in the account every year. So that one, of course, means that it's going to help grow. So I think, of course, remember the strategy when doing multiple choice. We're going to read them all, and I feel good about those 2 changes that would get Carl more money. See how reading this is just as important as understanding the math. We saw this question before too, probably about dragging and dropping the stuff that's important to involve appreciation and depreciation. Remember, appreciation is when the money goes up, the value of it goes up. Depreciation is the value going down. So, and then these are some pretty common ideas here. The decrease in value of a car, well, it says decrease right in the word there, decrease. So that is one that's going to be an example of depreciation. So you would drag that over. The value of a computer over time. So of course the computer gets older and laggier. It loses some of its value because newer ones come up that are better. So a computer loses its value. The value of a Wayne Gretzky rookie card over time. Well, this is like an investment. This sort of goes up in value, and they're more and more valuable as time goes on. The price of a house that has doubled over 10 years. So of course, if that price goes up, that's an example of appreciation going on. So those are just some ideas on something. If you just read carefully, I feel confident you'll be able to answer these types of questions. Similarly, here's some graph questions where you would look at it and be able to identify appreciation or depreciation. Again, when you're reading a graph, make sure you read everything. So I'm seeing that this is the value of a house, okay? And the number of years is after 2000. So when I see 30, that means 2030. Is this an example of appreciation or depreciation? Well, I'm pretty confident we all know it's appreciation because the value is going up. You can see that happening. What is the initial value of the house in 2000? So of course that's right here at the initial value point, the y-intercept. It looks pretty much exactly halfway in between, so it looks like $150,000 is how much the house was worth in 2000. Now we're going to go off and find the value of the home at 2030. So we might want to take our ruler to help us with this one. But 2030, oh, that's right where I sort of ticked off here, is at the 30 spot. We can go straight up from there until we get to the graph and then read across from there. Now this graph's going to be a bit of an estimate. We'll have to sort of see that it's closer to 40,000 than it is 30,000. I don't think it's halfway. That would be something like 35. So I might guess something like 375,000 maybe as an estimate. If you guess 380,000, I think that would be a good guess. Maybe 370,000. Somewhere in that neighborhood would be a good guess. Of course, on EQAO, you would have options where you can go off and pick. You want to find the one that's closest to that number. And then when will the house be worth 500,000? So this is where we would go the opposite direction. Let's do this in blue. 500,000 is right here, so we would go across to that spot and then come straight down, and you can see then that that's about almost in 2040, maybe just before it. So I'm going to say maybe about 2039, maybe 2038 is about when the home will be worth 500,000. So just think, if you bought your home in the year 2000, 150,000, that's a good investment. And then in 40 years, when you sell it, you would sell it for 500,000. So that's obviously an example of appreciation. The value of your home is going up. So this one, it says you could go to the whiteboards, but I think you can answer it really quickly right here. Maybe if you wanted to pause for a second and try it on your own, talk to your elbow partner instead of actually going up to the whiteboard. But let's just go off and see what it is. It says this is an example of appreciation or depreciation. So I think we can see that this is a depreciation because the value is going down. If I read the question, it's talking about the age of a car, so it does appreciate. Now, we know that there's some really old cars that have been kept up and revamped and stuff, so that the price might go back up. But we're talking about, just your everyday car that's running down and losing its value. Most of the cars on the road are like that. But so this one is going down, the depreciation. The initial value of the car, we can see it's right at the y-intercept is $30,000. And then when is the car worth half of the original amount? So half is going to be 15,000. So we can go across and see that number and down and see that it looks like it was going to lose half its value in 4 years. Which is really shocking, and that's not unsurprising, the value of the cars, especially new cars. That's why so many people like to buy a used car, because they're buying the cheaper version and it depreciates much slower than the new car that depreciates really quickly. All right, so that's all the examples for finance, and we'll move on to coding in a second.